Welcome back. You're at the Shadow Gallery once again, and right now we're going to talk about Green Hornet number 13. Now, Phil Hester, as I've talked about, taking the reins from Kevin Smith, as he's done before, they did with Green Arrow, ironically. So we got two Green heroes after Smith ended that series, and Phil Hester taking over for Smith with Green Hornet is proving to be just as good. This is really it's a really interesting series. What's I think the most I think the aspect of which this particular comic will live and die is by the chemistry between its two leads, the chemistry between Britt Jr. and Mulan Kato. There's obviously now, in this particular issue, there's more sexual tension than there's been before. As you can, and Alex Ross, first of all, just kicks an inordinate amount of ass with his art. With his painting. It's just gorgeous. The covers that he does quite a few. Dynamite is really, Dynamite Comics is definitely giving, the big three, quote unquote, run for their money as far as their, publishing house is concerned. So they got some really good stuff coming out of there. Again, they're fighting the Church of Santa Muerte, Saint Death, and you got some really good stuff going on with the Elder Cato in this book too, and that was pretty cool. A lot of this stuff is really going to come to a head. Now, the next issue is the end of this particular arc. I'm really looking forward to that particular climax, if you will, and it's a really good comic. It's very well written. It's very well plotted, and characterizations are really strong. So definitely, if you haven't been into this so far, start picking it up. I'm sure that I think the trade for Kevin's run on it is already out. So, probably find the individual issues since Phil Hester took over. So. And Jonathan Lau's art is just, it's fantastic. Really, it's really good. It's comic booky without being too comic booky. It's just the right balance, which is what I really like. So now we're gonna move on to my man Ed Brubaker and Incognito Bad Influences number 3. Brubaker and Phillips again, one of the greatest teams of writer-artists that I've ever seen in comics. There's a couple that have let me down, such as Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. It's certainly not the fault of Frank Quitely, because he is always going to be a great artist, but Grant Morrison can really grate on the nerves after a little while. So we hope that he becomes sane again soon, I think. And gets a little bit more down to earth. Anyway, so this is really given Zach Overkill an opportunity to really cut loose. And he's, this is what's interesting about this comic is essentially it's kind of the reverse of Sleeper, which is, another Brubaker Phillips comic, which was unbelievably brilliant. Whereas that was, basically, a good guy slowly going bad, this is a bad guy slowly going good. And, we learn a little bit more about the past of Zoe Zeppelin in this issue, and it's just, Brubaker's so strong at everything that he does, pretty much. I wasn't too keen on his run on X-Men, but aside from that, pretty much everything else that I've read of his is, really strong. And obviously when he's in the territory of like pulp heroes and crime fiction, and this is a combination of both. That's the top of his game. I mean, it's it's just there's no question that he's he's the best out there, for the money. That's for sure. So keep this, Ed, Sean, keep this coming. This book is just terrific. It's really, the Icon imprint over at Marvel is just really, it's really taken off. So I urge you to go out, if you haven't already gotten Sleeper, definitely go out and pick that up. If you haven't gotten Criminal, definitely go pick that up. I mean, they're both, and Incognito, the previous series, and now the sequel, Bad Influences. Really, get the stuff because it's just awesome. And don't miss, and now, okay, so that's going to bring me to another thing. Is that Ed just, on Twitter, he announced, well, I guess it was announced before he announced it on Twitter, but I didn't see it, that he's going to be off Secret Avengers after, I believe, issue 12, which to me really sucks. Whoever that they get afterwards, I don't really care, because it's not going to be Ed Brubaker anymore. I mean, at least like with, Brubaker, when Brubaker and Matt Fraction were teaming up to do Immortal Iron Fist, that was still really strong. But it's like, it's kind of like, when Brubaker left Daredevil and then Andy Diggle took over, and then it went into this really insane place. It became much more comic booky and a lot less, noirish, action, which is what, obviously what Brubaker excels at, with the exception of Captain America, which he proves that, he can write a superhero book and still have it be, really, super powered and, but still be really heavy on plot and characters and dialogue. And I love Brubaker. And with Secret Avengers, I mean, he's proving that all over again. He's just that good. He really is awesome. So, I mean, it's just, it's really strong what he's been doing and what he continues to do. And, I don't think that train's going to stop for a good long while. So, now we're going to get into my picks of the week. There are two, mostly because of one was just an incredibly interesting read, and one was my favorite. And we're going to start with Avengers versus New Ultimates #1, which, as you can see up here, it's the beginning, at least in this the Avengers Ultimates world, the beginning of the death of Spider-Man. So this is, obviously, it's again written by Millar, and Leinil Yu does some beautiful art once again. He's just so good. And this is, basically dealing with the aftermath of Ultimate Avengers as far as the Black Ops unit is concerned. Cap teleporting the base to, the Triskelion to Iraq to kill all the vampires. So this is bringing it a little bit more back down to, well, not Earth per se, but Millar's more kind of vicious take on these guys, as far as what he did with the Ultimates and Ultimates 2. That was, basically, I've been rereading the first 2 volumes of the Ultimates, and that's fantastic work. And this is definitely this particular issue, it seems like he's kind of more returning to form with, with how important and how badass these characters can be. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on in this issue. You got Tony Stark with his brain tumor, which was discussed way back in the very first volume of the Ultimates. So, and that's kind of been glossed over. I don't know if Jeff Loeb touched on it because I didn't read that whole fucking piece of shit. Anyway, we'll be right back with our book of the week.